welcome to the coffee table. I'm Mina Malik Hussain, and we have a wonderful show lined up for you today because, I'm always very excited about these things, but just a touch more excited because today we're talking about the crafts heritage of Pakistan. We're talking about women's empowerment. We're talking about better livelihood, earning a livelihood, about women getting paid for their work, and we're talking to representatives from two of the wonderful organizations that are contributing immensely to this cause. I'm delighted today to welcome the Senior Vice President of the Behbud Association of Pakistan, Abdul Malik, and Danish Jabbar, who is the CEO of the Caravan Crafts Foundation and is joining me physically on set. Exciting. Hello, and welcome to the show.
Hello,
both of you.
Thank you very much.
It's so wonderful to have both of you here today. And Abida, you have been with Behbud for so long, and I don't think that we can ever talk crafts in Pakistan and women sort of earning livelihoods through craft and the preservation of so many different techniques without thinking of Behbud. And Behbud, I think, was the pioneer in doing this. So tell us more about the foundation, just in case somebody doesn't know what Behbud is.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mina, and thank you for inviting me to give me this opportunity to talk about Behbud. And when I start talking about Behbud and these women, I get so passionate. So you have to, check me when you want me to stop.
No, we're all about the passion on the show.
So Behbud has been in this field for last 53 years.
Yes.
Women empowering women. Okay, that's our we talk about, and its strength is volunteerism. So Behbud works on volunteer plus paid staff, and these women artisans who are trained first who want to learn how to work and become wage earners. So that's what we do about. But Behbud has a very unique model. We don't stop there. We also, with empowering the women, we open schools for the children because their children have never been to the school and they will never send the kids to the school unless it's at their doorstep. And we provide them with basic health facilities. But our basic strength is, to save this craft, to continue with this craft so that this craft doesn't die. Yes. So we are struggling because we are self-sustaining. It's a sustainable fashion. So we are struggling to keep this alive by training 4 generations. Now these young girls are going to schools and colleges, but we encourage their mothers and their grandmothers that when they are, off from school, from college, please teach them the skill so that the skill doesn't die. So this is what Behbud has been doing for the last 53 years.
Oh, that is really tremendous. And it's just so exciting to see how many people, and this is obviously sort of not long after partition that something like this began. But Kaarvan, Danish, is I wouldn't say a newer arrival on the scene because it's been around for more than a decade now. 14 years?
Since 2004.
Yeah, 2004.
So very long time now.
Yeah. So tell us about Kaarvan. What is Kaarvan?
Yeah, Kaarvan Crafts Foundation undertakes economic empowerment initiatives for the women at the grassroots level.
Okay.
When I say economic empowerment initiatives, it has an element of skill development to it. It has an element of connecting to the markets as well. And also, we see empowerment as an outcome of the first 2 elements.
Okay.
It's like from the very beginning, the idea was to have a demand-side perspective to look at the whole development scenario.
Okay.
So,
what does that mean?
Well, that means that one thing is to work on just the skill development of the women and also some life skills providing to them. Then also to have the demand side involved into everything. Meaning that whoever is developing something in terms of the craft development, it's for a particular segment in the market as well. So market linkage is a very important component of whatever we do. So this is it how we understand economic empowerment for women, and also in the narrative we encourage to develop role models.
Okay.
It's a very decentralized model.
Okay.
Meaning, if you ask what's the theory of change, our theory of change is to educate in life skills, enable to earn, and then empower to decide. So the true empowerment is when she's able to earn, and then she becomes a decision maker in the household. She decides about the children's health, children education, how many children does she want to have. A total some patriarchal narratives are myths are broken.
So the choices are not just whether to work or not to work. And women, and I think that this is also statistically we know this, that when women have more decision making power in a family, the whole family benefits.
Absolutely.
Much more.
That's true.
When compared to just the male in the family.
That's true.
Sort of
That's
doing
true.
that.
That's true. And also, I think the very key element is to have the role models developed in the rural community.
Okay. So what is role model? Is that different from success stories?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bit, of course, the success stories are there, but then for the community that that they belong, the community should look up to them. So that's the way, because that's the trickle down effect. So and then the basic element of this is when somebody sees that somebody is successful, they could see that somebody is successful, and they could actually they are the best influencers in the community. So those role models are there, and when they earn money in terms of through conventional means and also now through digital means. So that is where the movement takes place.
Right.
So this is what.
And digital means is something that I want to sort of come back to. Abida, we're talking about education, and like Danish said, when we have role models or sort of mentors that people can look up to, and you've also mentioned that you are training now the 4th generation of women who work with Behbud. So do you feel like it's now become a sort of for some families who have that association with Behbud, now you see that they are all sort of, the mindset is changing around what they can do.
Yes, definitely, Mina, because we always say, we have case studies where we always say when you economically empower women, you empower them socially and politically. We have case studies who have run for the election in their community. And they get so much confidence. We have case studies. Once they get all that, when they are earning members of the family, they get all the confidence and they get all the respect from their in-laws, from their husbands, and from their children, because they're earning. And our case studies show that if a woman becomes a wage earner, she spends each and every penny on her family, on her household. So she'll dress up her children better, she will send them to school, she will feed them better. Whereas in that community, we work at the grassroots level. Whereas in that community, the men, they will other things to spend on, but a woman will just spend on her household once she is empowered. So it is very important to empower women at that level. I think it's at every level, but has become very important because they become very important members of the family, and they have a say in every decision making, like the CEO said. But it's amazing. The changes are amazing because this economic empowerment of women has a great impact on it. They send their child to a school, but then you have to look at 20 years for that investment. But when a woman starts making money, it's a great impact on the society.
And I also feel that a lot of times, I feel like a lot of this, so it's very important, and this is, I think, what happens when somebody becomes a role model or a mentor, and that respect that you mentioned, Abida, is that so many women's labor is either underpaid or not paid at all. And then when you actually begin to monetize a skill, that's where the sort of shift begins to happen.
That's true. It has to be seen. It has to be documented. It has to be the impact, as Ma'am Abida said. It trickles down to that level where they have control of the money that they're earning. Now that's very important.
Yeah.
And that's how they become they become an agent of behavioral change.
Yes.
That's very important. That the families, the household structure actually goes through a transformation.
Yeah.
If the lady of the house becomes an economic partner,
yeah.
We've seen people, we've seen families who have actually had a have the person was working, the husband was working at some other place. Now that the same husband, and when the lady first came to an exhibition here, she was accompanied by 4 men.
Right.
And got it. One is that you have to have very patience-oriented communication, continued communication with them, and have your role models and ambassadors as a communication medium to them. Now the same lady is now developing stuff for many of the known designers.
Yes.
And the husband is the QA person now. He does the quality assurance.
So they've sort of now become a family business now.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is the behavioral change that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And it's very important. I think what needs to be and what we try to do as well is to not only have the change of the women to be communicated. It's the household that needs to be the
which
change in the
includes
household.
the spouse and children and in-laws and all. Our family systems are quite complex.
Absolutely. There was just one lady in Lahore only who realized that her daughter was in class 8. And she just realized that it's so important when we were delivering training to that cohort about record keeping and the importance of quality and importance of knowing what you are doing and then writing it down. So she realized the importance of being educated.
Yes.
And she did her metric before her daughter did. So
excellent.
these are very powerful narratives, and these are very powerful stories that needs to be communicated to the world as well. It's very positive. They're very empowered. If we think that we need to empower them, I think they're already empowered. They're very good fund managers. So they are the entrepreneurs that they are there. So those powerful stories have to be communicated to the world as well.
Yes. One thing that really interests me about the work that Caravan does is that the idea of economic participation as social enterprise. And like you said, we were talking about this, how a lot of social enterprises, the idea is because it's something that you're doing to help others, then, for example, you don't market it that much, or you don't kind of approach it from what is seen as a kind of corporate approach. But there are things to be said for the corporate approach that do work, and you bring those sort of corporate ideas to Kaarvan in a kind of really interesting way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this social entrepreneurship has a very unique perspective to it. It's kind of, you have to experiment with a lot of things, what works, what doesn't work, but one should not shy off from experimenting about these things. And also in terms of what's very important to know how to very empathetically, very humanly showcase what you're doing. I think that's very important to communicate. It's not that we are just brilliant and we do this, we do that, not like that. So what we try is to bring the woman in the front.
Yes.
And it's a very decentralized model that we have. We try to keep ourselves at the back and also have these women stories, very authentic ones.
Yeah.
And to showcase to the world, and also to have them share it with the world themselves.
So that themselves is, I think, a really important thing. And I'm going to just hop to a very quick break, leave you in suspense, and come back to this fascinating conversation. Stay with us. Hi, welcome back to the coffee table. We're talking to Abdul Malik from Behbud and Danish Jabbar from Kaarvan. My enunciation clearly leaves much to be desired. So, Abda, I know that Behbud does so many projects now. So could you tell us a little bit about them? I know that there is health and there is education and there is a very intriguing sounding industrial home. What is that? It makes me think of like, you know, little M's working away.
Right. Industrial home, this was named about 50 years ago, so we didn't change it. This is basically our production unit, where the women come, take their work and do the work at home, which we call home-based workers.
Right.
Because they have little kids and they're not allowed to come out and sit for 8 hours. And here only our supervisors and trainers sit, where if they need on-job training, they will come and get trained. But we have, this is a huge industrial home, if one day you have to come and see, where we have about 5,000 home-based workers, you know, trickling in every day.
Wow.
But on the 25th of March is 25th of every month is the wages day. And then when you come, now it's Corona time and we won't let them come into groups, they just trickle in. But they come every 25th of the month to take their wages. In the beginning, they were not allowed to, and their husbands would come, or, you know, they would send somebody, their sons. We tried very hard, and now each and every woman, she comes herself to take her wages, you know.
That's
and their
tremendous.
Husbands confidence in Behbud that they say, yes, you can go to Behbud. We have many case studies about these women who were locked up in the homes, not to work, not to go to Behbud Center, because we have such centers around Rawalpindi and Islamabad.
Yes.
Mini centers like this, where the women cannot reach out. We reach out to them. We reach out to them, and, you know, our supervisors, our trainers go and train them over there at the centers and their communities. We have Mohalla leaders. But our latest project is we've invested 2 years in putting this book together on 11 indigenous crafts of Pakistan and the life histories of these women artisans. Because you see their work, but you don't see them. But in this book, they are all documented, and these histories are documented, and what they were before they joined Behbud, or they started working.
That's tremendous, being able to put a face to the work. But also I feel like the book, I'm glad you mentioned it, is that there is a history of craft as well that we shouldn't ignore. And this is part of who we are. And it's sort of, I feel like it's part of our identities as people who belong to a certain region. And these are handicrafts that traditionally, I assume, women have been doing. And I think it's really important to document where they came from, how those techniques have developed. Each region has their own style. That's also really special.
That's what we've tried to document in this book. The stories of these women artisans who are no less than national heroes. It will be coming out end of this year, and its title is Embroidering Dreams. Because, you know, they sit, they talk together, and they also, we give them a free hand. We have, you know, designers who will guide them, but we give them a free hand. If you have to, you know, embroider, they come up with beautiful color schemes and designs, and, you know, that's also indigenous craft.
Yes, quite right. And I'm really glad that they do have that kind of license, because, you know, anybody who's been to the Behbud website knows that everything is just always sold out, and it's all gorgeous work. It's so beautiful. And I feel like this kind of making craft relevant is also something that is really important work that Behbud and Kaarvan both are doing, because there is this sense, you know, that I think it's an old sense maybe, I don't know, that, you know, handicrafts are very ethnic and it's a certain kind of look and it's not very fashionable. But again, I think that Behbud and Kaarvan have really kind of modernized, and you guys are sort of developing with the times and responding to different tastes.
Absolutely. I think there was a time when all the outlets that we had for crafts were very shabby in their outlook, and kind of the approach towards selling was also to have an element of pity. To buy
that
things,
is charity.
and these are charity element to it. So now that's I think that's changing. The craft is becoming part of the high street fashion, and also there's more movement of, I think, the craft sector becoming as an alternative for different clothing businesses that they are there. It's a differentiation strategy that they can have. And now, because of a lot of exposure that these artisans have through the technology and also through the conventional means, we've got and also there are many other organizations who are conducting so many exhibitions. So all these ladies, they come here, they interact with, because customer can tell you the best. No other person can tell you that what to design, how to design. What sells is what sells.
Yes.
And also what we do is we whenever we are conducting an exhibition, conventional exhibition, we make sure that there are some top end people, women, and then also there are few who could be them, but they have to learn. So the best learning is when you see that somebody in a stall of like 30 artisans, somebody is selling good and somebody is not, her product is not.
So everyone is sort of learning from each other by doing it.
Absolutely. And also they've become, the designs have become better. And a lot of work being done on the institutional engagement. I think the craft sector have become more relevant with time in terms of the quality, in terms of the volumes, and in terms of the delivery time. So these particularly these what we see, the women entrepreneurs at in the community entrepreneurs, I think they've opened up. And technology has to play a big role here.
Yes, quite right.
And also, it's not that they have to look up to somebody to sell their things. The key is that they know that they can do it themselves.
Yes, and this is something,
I think that is the decentralized
quite right.
way of looking at it.
Yes, absolutely. So tell me a little bit more about this, because I know that Kaarvan did team up with Samsung, if I'm not mistaken, to sort of create an environment where the artisans that work with Kaarvan can directly take photos of their work and upload it onto the website themselves. And that really, I imagine, gives them a great deal of control over their own business, and really a sort of sense of ownership as well. That you know that this is what I'm doing. Like, they don't have to kind of ask someone's permission or go through somebody else to do that.
That's true. The main impetus behind it was the you see, there's this information asymmetry.
Okay, what is that?
There's this person, there's this lady who does craft work, and then there's a demand side person who, there's a demand side player, a retailer or a designer. So you see, there's a cost of doing business for her.
Yes.
And she has to develop a sample, and she has to travel all the way to some place and then showcase her piece, and then the designer or the retailer says, okay, change this, and then bring it again. You see, now she has to go back and she has to do it again and then somehow send it over. There's one element. So there's this cost involved. So one idea was to reduce the cost of doing business. So that's very important for her to, and also the other thing is that there are many players in the value chain.
Okay.
We do not say that the middle person, because this entrepreneur, she's also a middle person in the community. This is, if her business with another retailer or some designer or some business increases, she gives work to her community.
Quite right. So it becomes a trickle down. But then she might hire 2 more people.
Absolutely.
And then they will have a job as well.
Absolutely. So I think that's the way this whole value chain is increasing, and these micro entrepreneurs they know that they can sell it themselves by reaching out to the demand side players and to the retailers and to designers and to the end consumers. who pays the most.
Yes, quite right.
You see,
and I think this is a one criticism that people do have in terms of particularly, I think, the craft industry is that the artisan themselves is making something for X amount of money, but it's being sold for 4 times the price.
Yeah. So absolutely, this happens. So that was the whole idea of and we could see that the technology was already, it was there. Yes. But how to take it to the grassroots level where they could see it as an opportunity, not something to shy off or not something to be afraid of. So how to make it Google for them?
Yeah.
So this is what we did. We understood that there's an opportunity to actually connect them to the markets directly. So we pitched this idea to, and we were very lucky to have Samsung collaborating with us, and we developed a multi-vendor portal.
Ooh, sounds very fancy. Yeah. And I'm going to cycle back to multi-vendor portal in 1 second. So don't forget that, because I might. Abida, I just wanted to ask you about again, sort of cycling back to training. And Behbud also has a vocational training center. So could you tell me a little bit about what vocational training means and sort of what kinds of training that center provides?
Vocational is basically of hand embroideries that we are doing in different stages. Like I mentioned, we are in the book we are documenting 11 indigenous craft of Pakistan. So we teach them, but we have computer classes also for them. And the ones who learn computer and can go online and show their product, they are able to sell directly to the market.
Yes.
But I'm very honest with you, Mina, that marketing is the hardest part for them. It is so hard that, they really have to struggle because quality has to be maintained, color scheming, designing, everything. So we do that for them. But still, to go out on the computer, they can do it, but they will never be able to go out and market their product. So that's where Behbud comes in to market for them. See, we have marketing techniques. But also, Behbud pays them very fair wages. If you ever visit our centers and our big industrial home, you will see women have been working with us for the last 40 and 50 years because we pay them very good wages. Our concept is not to support them so that they can support their families and be in business. That's our motive. So and also you talked about future of this craft. So that's also why we invested in this book, is that it will be documented for future generations to learn different techniques. Techniques are given in such detail into this book. And then Behbud has, in this book, it has also, archived our business model, which perhaps is one of the most sustainable and social enterprise in the whole world, I would say. It's an amazing model.
It really is, and I think that it's really, and it's really sort of been such a trailblazer and kind of really shown the path for so many other enterprises to kind of follow. We're going to take a very quick break and come back to this conversation. Stay with us. Hi, welcome back to the coffee table. We're talking to Mina Malik from Behbud and Danish Jabbar from Caravan Crafts about the fantastic work they're doing to help so many families and also maintain or preserve our cultural integrity and our cultural heritage, which I'm clearly very chuffed about. So Danish, we were talking about the very intriguing sounding multi-vendor portals, and basically what we are sort of talking about is Kaarvan's work in sort of bringing markets to artisans directly and having that sense of kind of, direct access and feeling really like empowered about it, like you can do it. Like even I'm just thinking about it, and if I were somebody who would just be like, you can just post, it's done. Somebody can just buy it. Exciting.
Yep, that's in the, we can say that that's the future. But more importantly, the way technology is becoming readily available and very rapidly changing as well. It's a very patience-oriented work when you go in the community and taking the technology there. It's not technology to be seen as a panacea for all the ailments. It's not like this. It's very patience-oriented work. So we developed a digital literacy program. And we selected those artisans or the entrepreneurs who are doing good conventionally in a conventional business. So they have they know how to go about doing.
So they're kind of savvy.
Yeah,
they have a sense.
savvy about it. So and they could understand that okay now this would help us in doing this thing. Now again, when we did that, we developed that portal where they could actually we were an interface to the market for them. But every other thing was being done by them, meaning that we were just presenting, we just doing a presentable picture for the consumer to have that experience of not buying something shabby or not buying something that somebody's not comfortable buying.
And also I feel like because consumers now and because of social media and the internet, the flip side of that is also that people have, I think consumers expect something that's much more polished looking and looks more fashionable or looks a certain way.
Absolutely.
And that really helps.
Yeah. So one was that they could, when digital literacy trainings were done, and how to register onto that portal in a very simple way, and how to take pictures from their mobiles. Samsung actually provided the mobiles to these ladies, and how to take pictures from the mobiles and upload it there, and then we could tweak it according to what looks good. So now, and there are learnings in it that taking a picture from a mobile phone is a training in itself, and how to make it presentable. Now, one way is to have a photographer
follow you around
doing that. Then the other way is to teach to train them to be better
and give them the tools. It's like teach a man to fish kind of thing.
Absolutely, and this is happening. And Mina, honestly speaking, when we started with this, whoever it's kind of. It's unbelievable for them as well, right? When somebody made a complete business cycle as to how to, when somebody is ordering and somebody, the customer, and then they receive an order, then there's a hand-holding as well. We tell them, there's a call center, we tell them that you receive an order from that portal, how to make an, on your email, and then they could develop, they could package it accordingly, and then send it to the nearest. We've surveyed everything, and it's Pakistan Post is the easiest way to reach out. It's near them.
And it's very reliable also.
And you see, these jargons like money order and these things are very convenient for them.
Yes.
You see, it's very native.
They're already familiar.
So they would pack it, they would send it through Pakistan Post to the customer in Pakistan, and then whoever the customer is pays it through a money order back to them.
So it's all kind of high-tech and low-tech at the same time, where you're using things that they do know and kind of enhancing that.
Absolutely. And also when it happens, whenever you trust me, when one lady actually managed to did a complete cycle. She just bombarded us with like, upload my, I'm sending you more products. You see, the buy-in is there.
Yes.
You see, so that's very important.
It's not just kind of working into the abyss.
Out of the 80 ladies, 52 ladies, they did the complete cycle themselves, the complete business cycle themselves. So it was very encouraging. And then that led us to to experiment with more ideas around
and that
technology.
Motivation is also so important, because when you're motivated, you're responsible with your own business practices, and it kind of becomes a really good cycle.
Absolutely.
And I know that Behbud is also doing a little bit of micro credit as well now.
Yes, we're doing in our communities where we have our centers. we have been doing for a long time, giving. And this is to the women. Of course, they spend it on their families, but it's 95% return rate from them.
Excellent.
Very
Look at
honest.
that.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Because, women are watching women because they know when this woman returns her loan, she is next in line to get that loan. It's interest-free. We do not charge any interest, but it's a very successful scheme.
And that sense of responsibility that this is an investment I'm making in myself, in my business, and I'm responsible, and I want to, be honorable about it. So I have one question, as we near the end of the show. Abida, do you think that there's been a kind of surge in a sense of inclusive capitalism, and in a sense that the consumer is now more educated about crafts, let's say, and about who is making the craft and where it's going? So do you feel like the consumer has become more intelligent about crafts, and that's also has a sort of a role to play in, keeping the work going as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. And Behbud has also marketed itself as, training the staff to tell where our shops are, online shop, that this is where the craft is coming from. Honor the hands who hold the needle and the thread, and all those slogans that we put in. And it really goes directly to the women, so they feel they're very educated consumer. And they also, we did not realize that we were a sustainable fashion and not a fast fashion. That most of not. This stays in their closet for years, this product, and is passed on to their daughters and the granddaughters. It's not thrown out of the closet for years.
It's really great.
So
yes. And in the global sense, people are now thinking more about these ideas of sustainability and keeping things for longer. And I think it's interesting because this has always been our culture. I think it's a very recent fast fashion for us. In many ways, has been a kind of newer concept. We're quite comfortable with the idea of, even like a shawl, for example. You keep a shawl, you pass it down, it's an heirloom.
Absolutely.
And and we were talking about this before also, that capitalism is something that it's here now. But a responsible approach to it and an inclusive approach to it is something that is sort of mutually beneficial to everybody involved in the process.
I think it's a global movement now. The global, how capitalism is being, in spite of all the polarity that is there, how the industry is contributing, and industry and the consumer itself, they themselves are contributing towards the social good, towards the society. So I think that's a very important aspect of now being projected and be known as an ethical business practice. So I think that's very important, and more importantly now because of this social media that is there. So whoever is doing whatever is now available.
Yes, so, everybody knows now.
And during these COVID times particularly.
We're all stuck on the screen.
Yeah, absolutely. and you see the way technology, the uptake of technology has increased with the rural community. So they know now that, okay, the conventional way is now is closed for some time, and there's an economic pressure. So how to go about it? So we recently did an online exhibition, which could have different meanings that we could be. But you see, what we did was we just took 11 entrepreneurs, and they actually were there on Facebook Live.
Oh,
you see, to reach that point, and to show, and there were some volunteers who were moderating from the textile sector, who were moderating So see, there was this whole effort that was there. And there's realization that they have to be there.
So it's like a collective, and it's like a sense of community that I feel like is only possible in environments such as Kaarvan or Behbud, where fashion is something that you can enjoy, you can do it sustainably, you can do it responsibly, and you can do it in a way that, you have you wear something beautiful, you contribute towards somebody else's livelihood. I think this is a really sort of pleasing microcosm of all of these things. Thank you so much, Danish.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Abida, for being on the show. Thank you for all the wonderful works that both of you are doing with your remarkable organizations. If you are watching this, please do check out Caravan and Behbud crafts. They are online, they're on Facebook, they are on Instagram, they're everywhere. They are at the fore of sustainable, ethical fashion. And, everything you buy is genuinely helping someone grow their own business and flourish. So, yes, thank you for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you next time on The Coffee Table. Bye now.